Hey everyone, it's been a while. I was having a conversation the other day and I thought of all of you and how you suffered through a discussion of the Constitution and the branches of government. And I had an idea about how to bring it all together and make it relevant, or most of it. So, this is about the Roe v. Wade leaked draft opinion. At the outset, this is not a discussion about morality, about pro life or pro choice. That's not the point. What is part of the conversation here is the role of the different branches of government. Why they are separated out the way they are, and what happens when they don't do their job. So, in 1973, Roe v. Wade and a related case, Planned Parenthood v. Casey, were decided by the court. Here's the thing. There was a goal that the court had at the time. They wanted to see abortion legalized. So what they did was they used their judicial interpretation and their legal knowledge and their intellectual capabilities to connect the dots so that the outcome, legalized abortion, would come to fruition. Later in life, Ruth Bader Ginsburg would regret these steps taken. Not because she wasn't happy with the outcome. She wanted abortion to be accessible to women. What she was disappointed in was how they got there, because it wasn't fully legitimate. And it left room for someone else down the road to poke holes in that judicial ruling. Okay, so that's one problem. Here's the other problem. We call that an activist court, right? It's happened in both political directions. There's just, this one happens to be, in the left direction. The other problem is that the role of the court is not to make law. And so for the last 50 years, women thought that, their right to an abortion was the law of the land. It was not. Why? Why was it not? Because the legislature, the Senate, and the president never made it a law. And they should have, right? If they wanted it to be the law, they should have made it the law. Why didn't they? Lots of reasons. Who knows? But they certainly had the capability to. There were several different Democrat presidents that, at the same time as they were president, had the House and the Senate majority Democrats, and they had the ability to draft and pass a law that could be signed by the president to legalize abortion, right? So the point is, the government is split up into three branches, as we've covered. The executive is meant to enforce the laws. The legislature, the closest branch to us, by the way, is meant to develop the laws. And the judiciary is meant to interpret the laws. And so what we have in this Roe v. Wade debacle is an example of how the court went beyond its responsibility, its role, and they effectively made law. And simultaneously, the legislature failed at its job and didn't touch it after the ruling. When if they really believed that it should have been law, then they should have made it law. They didn't. Why? Again, lots of reasons. So, what we're currently seeing, right, with this Roe v. Wade draft opinion debacle, and debacle is the most appropriate word. This is a failure of our government to do its job appropriately, and this is the result. Courts don't make laws. The legislature makes the laws. Anytime, and so this is, okay, so what does this mean down the road? Sure, there's some complicated elements to this. The 10th Amendment, the idea that if the Constitution doesn't speak about it, then the states should decide it for themselves. Some people don't like that, especially when it comes to abortion. I understand why. Practically speaking, there are people in this country that think they have rights, protections. They may not. They may not because if the court wants a particular outcome and then goes through these circuitous rationalizations, right, to come to that, to get that outcome, they have left the door open for others to challenge those opinions. And if the legislature doesn't take action and establish into law those things that we apparently, by at least a majority of society, want, then those people's rights are not secure. And I'll draw a similarity, but I don't want you to think they're that similar, is the same-sex marriage equality. right, under the Obergefell v. Hodges case. It's a little different because, granted, there was, I think, an assumed outcome, a desired outcome that gay marriage should be legal, but there was also, I think, a more reasonable and legally defensible rationalization for how they got there. The abortion ruling in Roe v. Wade was a much more pained and tortured rationalization. So the point is, anyway, you should want your government to operate appropriately, and you should want, all of you, regardless of whether you're a Republican, Democrat, or something else or nothing else, you should want the legislature to do its job, and you should want the judiciary to do its job, and not abdicate their responsibilities and not take on more than they should. That's really the point. Maybe we'll talk again soon.